Kingdom come, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, and this is Alessandra, and it is another edition of 2 O'Clock Break with Allie. And I hope that today you are happy and healthy. I wanted to start today with a little story that will then go into my question for us today. And this story was I found it on Facebook, but I thought it would be appropriate. There was a little girl and the mom, they were eating dinner. The dad was late coming home. But eventually, when he does come home, he sits down and starts eating. And the little girl says to the dad, "Dad, I need some money." And the father looks at her and says, "Why do you need money? We provide everything for you, and you're too little." And so she bowed her head and she said, "Dad, please, I need money." And the dad, again, a little bit in a huff, says, "You don't need money." And so the little girl leaves the table and goes to her room, and she's very sad. And the wife looks at her husband and says, "You know what? Maybe there's a good reason that she needs money. Why don't you go up and talk with her and check?" So the father does that. He goes up to the daughter's room and he asks her, he says, "Why do you need money? You know that we provide everything." And she said, "Well, Dad, if you can tell me how much you make an hour." And the dad said, "You don't really need to know that." And the little girl says, "Well, if you tell me much you make an hour, then I can pay you for an hour of your time." And this brings me to my question: how much would God pay to spend a little bit of time with us? We know that God would never force us to spend time with Him. It was His promise that He would give us free will, and He would never go back on that promise. But unfortunately, however, our time on this earth is limited, and it does have a beginning and an end, and we don't know how long that time is. And I learned in one of the courses that I had taken called Experiencing God that one of the major purposes for our time span here on earth is to get to know Him. So when we meet Him someday, we will know Him and love Him. The problem, though, comes in when we realize that we are humans, and as humans we get busy with overscheduling ourselves, making sure our minutes, our hours, our days are busy, and we don't think about spending time with God. A father always wants to spend time with his child, hopefully, and the child craves time with his father, just like the little girl in our story. And that connection is fundamental for a healthy relationship between father and child. And just in the same way, God wants us to spend time with Him. He wants to build that connection with us and build a relationship. And so, why then is it so difficult for us to do? Why is it difficult for us to leave our busyness aside just for an hour and give time to God? After all, God is the one who gave us time. He gave us breath. He gave us the things that we are so busying ourselves with. And so it's important to go to God and thank God and spend time with Him. So one of the things that we could probably do is to do a to-do list and put God on that to-do list. If we don't put God on that to-do list, then we are telling God that we don't need His power in our life. We don't need Him in our life. And the which is sad, because we do. Everybody needs God. Everybody needs that connection with the Father. The other thing that maybe we can do is pencil God into our schedule, right next to the doctor's appointments, right next to the kids' soccer game. And this way, as we look at our calendar, we can see that God is listed there. And in doing so, it unleashes the amazing gifts, and we see that we get more connected, and that amazing things start to happen either around us, with us, or through us. And our prayers or our time with God becomes fruitful. And so at the beginning, those are things that we can do, but eventually we're not going to need those because eventually it'll just become automatic for us to give God some of our time and to sit quietly and spend time with the Lord. So the trick is, like the tagline for Nike says, just do it. So, thinking about the question again, what would God pay to spend some time with us? And the way that God paid is to send his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross for us so that we may spend eternity with him. So basically, it is infinite love. So I hope that you enjoyed our chat for today. And as my father always said, I will see you next time, God willing. Bye, everyone.